Hi, this is Jeff Heaton. Welcome to Applications of Deep Neural Networks with Washington University. In this section, I am going to show you how to submit assignments for the module assignments 1 to 10. So 10 of the modules in this class have assignments that you need to submit. The idea is we have one small assignment per week, really. This helps to keep you engaged since this is a hybrid class and we're not meeting in class every single week. So each one of these module assignments will be a short program that you'll write in Python that makes use of the technologies that we've learned about that week. And you're given Python code that automatically submits that to me, and then that allows me to quickly grade that, and I will be able to then send you the response back in the Washington University Learning Management System so you see what grade you received on that. So there is one assignment per week, and that they're due by the following week, so you need to make sure that you're submitting those on time. Now, to submit these, let me just show you kind of how you would do this. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the directory that I have my my course assignments checked out to. This is basically where I pulled the zip file for the class Jupyter notebooks and other things. So I'm going to launch Jupyter here. Okay, we now have a Jupyter notebook launched and ready to go. So you'll notice that, well, first of all, if you go to any of the modules, you'll notice that at the very, very end of the module, once it loads here, there is usually, or there is, the first 10 have assignments. It has a link to the actual assignment. You can click on that. If that will take you, though, to GitHub, which would show it to you. And there's assignment 1. Notice the file name for it, though, assignment your name class 1. So you're going to want to take this notebook and save it, putting your own name in there so that it's your assignment submission. It's not mine and it's not anybody else's. So to do that, I'm going to go back to my local Jupyter notebook. So this is the one that's running on my actual computer. And I'm going to go into the assignments folder, and that's where you'll find all the templates for these. You don't really have to use the templates, but they do give you a very good starting point for the assignment. It's folder. And here you see all the templates. So I'm going to just grab assignment 1, and I can go ahead and rename this. And I'm going to call this assignment J. Heaton, because that would be my name. And I'm going to rename it. And in this opening area, if you double click that, where it says student name, just go ahead and put your name in there so that I can tell these apart. The system tracks this, but it's a good idea to put your name at the top. You don't want me to lose your assignment or take points off for a missing name. So this is the instructions. You'll always have instructions for all of the assignments at the top. Assignment 1 is extremely easy. All you have to do is run it and make sure that you have it set up so that it does actually submit. Assignment 1 is nothing more than making sure that you can submit an assignment to me. So I give you the instructions here, and I talk about some common problems that you might run into, and I'll show you a little bit of that in a moment. But just like any of the modules, we have the helpful functions, so you'll want to run those first. You'll have this at the top of every single one of your assignments. These are just helpful functions that we'll see these throughout the semester, but they help you normalize the data and perform other things that are necessary. And you'll notice at the bottom of it, there is a submit function. This is something that I wrote that actually takes the assignment and sends it to me. So here is the assignment 1 sample code. I usually give you a little bit of sample code just to get you started with an assignment. In this case, you really do not need to do anything other than the sample code. There's two important variables there. There's key, and then there's the file name that you're actually submitting. So the key is something that you should have gotten emailed to you the week right before the class started. So if you don't have a submission key, then send me an email and I will make sure to get that to you. The submission key, you should have gotten that in an email, and and you can see that basically, let's see, I was testing the system, so this is what you'll get. You'll get the welcome to T81 558. It'll be from me at Washington University. And this is what the system automatically generates, and it says your API key is that. So you'll want to copy and paste that. You will use that key throughout the semester. It's both a user ID and password together, so you just need that key in order to submit. And that's all you really use it for, is submitting assignments. You can't check your grades with it or anything like that. Your grades are all sent to you through the learning management system. This is just a way to submit your assignment, and my submission system actually does some quick checks on it too, just to make sure that your submission is good, and you will likely get a good grade on it based on what my auto checks tell you. Or at least they perform some very, very basic tests on these, just to let you know that you're generating the right amount of data and a few other things. So that's the key. You'll notice I already have a key in here. This key is just an example one. Right now this key will work because I have it enabled. It's my testing key. But by the time class starts, this key will no longer function. You need to put your own key in there. And you don't want to submit on somebody else's key or the wrong key, because then your assignment won't make it to me, and that would be bad. So here is where the path is. This is the path to your Jupyter notebook or Python file or whatever it is you're submitting. So in my case, the file name is assignment Heaton class 1. Now you can't give it this URL because that's an internet address. It wants a literal location on your hard drive. So I give you a few example ones here. If you're using the IBM Data Science Workbench, it would likely be in this form. If you're using Windows, it would likely be in this form. If you're using Mac, it would likely be in this form. So I am going to go ahead and use the Windows one because I am on a Windows computer right now. And this path will likely be different for you because you're probably running this. You may not have installed this to exactly where I installed it. I installed it under Heaton and then my or Jeff H, and then my projects directory and then the class. So a quick way to get one of these paths is just to open up Windows Explorer. And usually you want to go right to your C drive if you're using Windows. And I will go to users and Jeff H. And let's see, I put it in a directory called projects, which is where I put everything get related. And then this would be, I named it after the class, so yours would probably be named this if you checked it right out of get. And then mine is inside of assignments. Now see, I renamed it. So there's the file name. So you can copy this whole path right out of Windows Explorer. It's often the easiest way to do it. So I'm going to copy it into there. Now Python does require that all backslashes be double backslashes, otherwise they're escape sequences, and that won't work. So I'm making all of those double backslashes. This one as well. And then the file name needs to match what's up here and also what's out here. I like to copy and paste a lot because then I don't have to worry about typos. So I'm going to copy that from there. And I'm going to paste it into this last part. So at this point, I truly have, this file name is correct. Now, whatever you name your file, it is very important that you have an underbar class 1 or class 2 or class 3, because there's a check just to make sure that you're not accidentally submitting the wrong file with the wrong module, which would be bad. It gives you this, and then this line here is very important. This is just a stub for what your assignments will later be. This is a very simple one. I'm just creating a very, very simple data set that has 3 columns, A, B, and C, and has 4 values in each of these. It's a simple 4-line data set. There's not much to it at all. And this is just to test it. So what's neat about the assignment submission system is back on my server that this is running on, I have a master file that is what I expect the output from your program to look like. So I will compare it to my master file, and I'll tell you if you're missing columns or if you're missing rows or anything like that. That helps you make sure that your submission is good enough that you won't lose points for really, really obvious things. If you're matching up to my master file pretty well, you're probably doing fine. You might have something else wrong with it, but you're probably in pretty good shape. So what this is doing is creating a data frame. This is a data file. This is very much like a Microsoft Excel. You have 3 columns, A, B, and C, and they each have these values. All of your 10 assignments will have rows and columns, usually stored in a CSV type file. But just for convenience, I let you literally submit your data frame right to me. I don't make you write it out to an intermediate CSV file. You'll use the submit command, and this is just the function that was up here, the submit. It's just a function that I provided you. All it does is it does a RESTful web post of 2 things, of your data output and your code. So that way I have your code and I have your output. And that's enough for me to grade your submission. So I basically then, you tell me the source file, which is file, which is this full path up here. And then the key. The key is here. Your data is always data equals df. You're always going to send me a pandas data frame. You're going to learn more about pandas data frames in modules 1 and 2. You'll always send me that. You'll always send me your data. And then no is assignment number. This is assignment 1. Now it's very, very important that 1 match, because I have a check for it, match class 1. I do not want you to accidentally send me the source to assignment 2 and send it to 1, because then I really can't grade that. It's you would have the wrong submission. So just to make sure that doesn't happen, we have that set up. You'll get an error. I'll show you what that looks like in a moment. And then you run it. Here I do show you the successful output, but let me just go ahead and run this. It should work just fine. You'll see a star while it's processing for a second. It sends it over the web. So this is an upload. So you'll see success. Submitted assignment 1 for Jeff Heaton. You have submitted this assignment 11 times. Parentheses, this is fine. So don't worry, you can multi-submit it. You can submit it 100 times if you want. You can submit it 100,000 times if you want. Don't do that, but you could. Don't put it in a loop. So and what's good is you see the check. You have submitted this assignment 11 times. No warnings on your data. You will probably do well, but no guarantee. So if we were to mess with something in here, don't actually do this for your assignment, but if we did, say that final row, column A, the last row, say I made that 100, which it should not be. We'll go ahead and run that. Now it's submitting it. Now you'll see I have a warning. And it tells me that the mean of column A differs from the solution by 24.75. Parentheses might not matter if this is small. You'll sometimes get this warning because we have a lot of random numbers in neural networks. But if you're differing by a decently large amount, you might want to just check your column, whatever column it's complaining about, and just make sure you you feel like that is if that is okay. But it just lets you know. Usually, you should be pretty closely in alignment with mine. If you get one on the mean, that's one you can safely ignore. If you get percent, no warnings, and you'll see it keeps saying more and more submissions. You can submit this as many times as you want to until you get that no warnings on your data. You will probably do well, but no guarantee. So I don't check everything. I mean, this is a computer program checking it for you. I'm just trying to catch obvious errors for you. So like say you had the wrong column and I made that Z. So now we have A, B, and Z, which is not the columns I asked for in this assignment. If I run that, you're going to get another warning. This is a warning you should very much pay attention to. The warning about the mean, that your average is a little different than mine, that might be okay. But if you see that your average is off by a huge amount, that's a problem. But this is always a problem. It says that the solution file has headers A, B, and C. You have A, B, and Z. And if you put them in a different order, that's fine. I don't care what the order is. So this is almost definitely an error that you would lose points on because your assignment would be either somewhat or very incorrect. And each of these assignments is worth 5 points. So in general, the approximate rubric for that is if you don't even submit it, I give you a 0 on it. That's bad. You definitely don't want to do that. If you just got a successful submission, even with a bunch of warnings, you'll probably get 2 points on it. If you get no, probably 1 or 2 points, depending on how bad it is. If you get this back and you have no warnings whatsoever, you probably have at least 3 or 4 points on it. You might have one minor thing wrong with it, hopefully not. But if you, and then I check it, and if everything checks out okay, you get the full points on it. So if you're seeing no warnings on it whatsoever, you're probably at least 4 or 5 points for that. Because it does check a number of things, and it'll tell you what's wrong. If you don't understand one of my warnings, just send me an email. I'll let you know what it's talking about. So that shows you some of the things. Now, another common error that you might run into is, say I changed this and I tried to submit a file that doesn't exist. So there's not a class 2 submission. I haven't done that yet. So let me go ahead and try to submit a file that doesn't exist. You'll get an error. You'll get one of these big ugly errors. It will tell you, well, it tells you for one thing, it's not seeing class 1 as part of the list. So that's definitely bad. It's worried that you're trying to submit the wrong assignment. But let's make it class 1, and let's take the N off of my last name. That's just a file not found. So no such file or directory. So if you mess up your path, you're going to get that kind of an error. If you try to submit assignment 2, so say you updated this to submit assignment 2, but you forgot and you left that as class 1. You're trying to submit your old assignment as the new one. That's bad. And it'll tell you class 2 must be part of the file name because you're submitting assignment 2. So those are what I anticipate are the most common errors with this thing. But if you run into other errors, let me know, and I will definitely update it to let you. So here's some of, if you look up here near the top, I give you some of the most common errors that I think you will run into. Oh, and by the way, if you give the wrong student key, you're going to get a message forbidden, meaning you don't have authorization to use it. So if you have a problem with your key, email me. I'll be glad to help with that. I do make this, so we'll talk more about this assignment the first day of class, but it's due shortly after the first day of class. So I would definitely suggest trying to submit this before class even begins, because then if you have any error or any problems with it, you can ask me and we can get that straightened up right away. Now, I always like to verify that stuff has worked right. So here I can basically show a listing of all the submitted assignments just for this key. So whatever key I put in here, which hopefully is yours, that's the only key you should have, I am going to go ahead and run it. Oh, I forgot to run this little section. Make sure you run this little section that gives you the functions list submit and display submit. Those are just little helper functions that communicate with my server. And you run it, and it'll say success, assignment 1, Jeff Heaton. Now, if this is a bad key, then you'll get that error, forbidden. So make sure you give it a good key. If you just leave this key what it is, you'll get this. You'll get the forbidden command or error. So that shows you mine. Maybe you want to make sure that assignment 1 is what you think it is. I can do display submit, and it'll show me basically that. It'll say assignment 1 submitted 15 times, and it gives me that warning that I had on my last submission. Whatever your last submission is, that's what I grade. So make sure that that you don't do any subsequent submissions after you have the one that you really want submitted. Because here you're getting that. If we went up here, ABZ, and we fix this, ABC, and we run it, no warnings with your data. And if we go down here, it should also echo that back, no warnings with your data. So this is how you will submit assignments 1 through 10. There's also 2 projects in this class, and those 2 projects will be submitted separately. One will be submitted, you'll get specific instructions on how to submit the 2 projects. But anyway, this is how you submit an assignment. If you have any questions about this, definitely email me or we'll discuss it in the first class.